Welcome back. This is Anthony.
This is Isaac.
We're going to talk about some dehydration today. I don't want to put the numbers on there since they're all out of order.
Since we're what?
All out of order.
Oh, yeah, we're all out of order.
So it doesn't matter anymore.
Dehydration, dude. Yeah, man. I've had, in our class, how many people in our class, and have you talked to them? Debbie and Audra have come up to me and they've been like, oh my gosh, it's working. The only thing I've changed is my hydration, putting salt in my water, doing things like that. And muscle's gone up like 2 pounds and body fat's dropped a few percentage points. But we know obviously that's not the case. It's just simply they're hydrated now. So it's truly a true measurement now.
Yeah. And that happened to Katie too, because she was complaining this morning. So my weight went up. I'm like, okay, well, what else happened? She's like, well, so my muscle mass went up too. And I'm like, okay. Because every morning now she's doing the probiotic and the salt in the water.
Sweet.
So you're getting saturated with water. Somebody else had asked me about that today too.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that guy Chris that we talked to on the day I did his test, his weight jumped up 7 pounds and his body fat dropped 3 pounds just from soy sauce. Now, we're not saying that's the best idea, but all the soy sauce he consumes.
Because he's in here a lot. He works out so much and he sweats, man.
Yep.
So and then he probably has a stressful job.
Yeah, he's in sales too.
Okay.
So his job itself isn't stressful, but he has to oversee if I understand right, the surgeries because he sells pacemakers.
Okay.
And if I understand,
I saw him in Scrubs. That's why. Okay.
Yeah, he has to oversee the surgeries where they're actually implanting the pacemakers to make sure everything's put in right, which I would imagine has to be some level of stress because he's not doing the surgery,
but he's supervising.
Yeah, which I mean, if it's your hands doing something, there's always that stress. But no, I said left. I said go to the left, and you went right. And now it is where it is. We hope it stays. But yeah, he's told me a couple stories where people call him up and they're like, "Hey, this patient doesn't have a heartbeat," and he's like, "Well, is the patient conscious?" Yeah. Well, then clearly they have a heartbeat, but the pacemaker's messed up. So I can imagine his stress levels are.
Yeah. So because of that, his body was craving the salt and everything. That's why because there was something else he said, right? He said it tasted so good.
Oh yeah.
Because he went through two
of those
the decent
the dishes.
Amount.
Yeah.
That's.
And each one of those dishes, what, about an ounce?
Yeah.
And I know if you drink soy sauce, it'll kill you. Because that's actually a common form of suicide.
Yeah.
Is to drink soy sauce. And then because it dehydrates you so fast that I don't know. It sucks all the water out of your blood.
Well, it's because of the sodium, that osmosis thing that probably happens, and then you're just that is crazy.
So he put all that soy sauce in his body, dropped. Weight went up, body fat went down.
Yeah, muscle mass went up, but it didn't truly go up. It's just the body finally got what it needed inside, and it just went finally, and it went to norm, which is 2 pounds heavier, 6 pounds heavier, or 7 pounds of muscle. Or was it 7 pounds in weight?
7 pounds in weight.
Okay.
But it was 7 pounds. 7 pounds of muscle is what it came out to be.
Because that's what it basically was.
Because his weight jumped up 7 pounds, muscle mass went up, and body fat looked like it went down. But I mean, it probably was exactly where it should have been because he was just dehydrated.
Yeah.
So
that's cool too.
That's a ton, and especially this time of year, it's going to get warmer.
Yeah.
People are going to be outside. It's not super hot yet, so you're not thinking about all that.
I think it's one of those all year problems that. Well, and all year problems for sure, but in the winter time, right? I think it's a problem because we don't assume we're losing water or we're dehydrated because it's not hot, the sun's not out. We're inside more because it's colder outside, unless you're in Texas. But
in which case.
And then in this flip flop that in summer, you basically you are sweating a lot. You're in the sun. You're outside more, so you're losing it there. And then you're drinking some water, but you're still not drinking enough because you're more active, you're exercising still, and now you're dealing with the actual temperature, right? Yeah. Temperature change and stuff like that. So then these people just deal with this all year round. What have you found on the InBody to kind of measure that or keep an eye on to help look at the trends?
So when you're looking at the trend, if you notice a sharp drop in your lean mass, that usually means you're dehydrated, because unless you're sick or exposed to zero gravity or things like that, you can't drop body skeletal muscle mass that fast. That goes back to, if you guys watched the one that we did with David, he talks about 21 days in space with no gravity, you start to lose muscle mass. I know in our.
It doesn't happen till 21 days.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in our physiology class, they said 14 days of absolute bed rest, you start to lose you'll lose 20% of your muscle mass.
Okay.
But that's 14 days
It
of
takes
absolute.
14 days
Yep.
of nothing.
Yeah, so
People are
there's-
still walking.
Yeah, and bed rest means bed rest. It does not mean like sitting here, walking around, or else.
Yeah.
It means you are stuck in a bed.
Uh-huh.
You can't sit up. You can't do anything but lay there.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's. I think,
So essentially, if you lose any muscle, right, that's above 0.5, it's probably not true.
oh yeah.
Like, it's like, no, that didn't happen. Unless the measurements are 14 days apart,
Yeah.
at least, maybe 12 days apart.
But then you also have seen a flip flop, and your body fat shouldn't go up in correlation to your muscle mass going down.
Yeah.
Unless you're eating absolutely horrible. Like I mean, if it's like you've been binging on pie for like the past 14 days, yeah, you're probably gonna have
Your body fat's gonna go up and you'll be dehydrated.
Yep.
But if it's one of those, I'm eating healthy, I don't know what's going on, but your muscle mass dropped, body fat hasn't moved,
Mhm.
you're just dehydrated.
Yeah.
Or if anything, body fat also went up just a little, it's just dehydration. Cool. That's what I've been telling people too. I like. So now I'm making sure that my clients, when they send me their in-body metrics, like they used to just send me the body fat and the weight. They're like, cool, here it is. And now I'm like, no, send me everything.
Yeah,
like I want to see what the lean body mass is, the history, and how far away your measurements were apart. And I'm probably going to ask you questions on that too, because we have to kind of know what were you eating, were you fasted, were you sore from the day before. But knowing just, I think that's an accurate machine now when you consider
Oh,
the
yeah.
hydration aspect of things.
I think that's where people go wrong because they get on there and their body weight goes up and they're thrown off by the fact that my muscle's up, my muscle's down, my body fat went here. So the fluctuation is happening and people think it's inaccurate. So because how can
Yes.
it change that much? My
Yeah.
weight's staying the same, but this
Yeah.
is what's going on.
Well,
Right, yeah.
it is accurate because of the hydration issues,
Yeah.
the water weight. And people do know that we can weigh 4 pounds, 5 pounds heavier at night than we did in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they do understand that. So, I just don't think they put that together with that machine. Huh.
Well, that goes back to the one bad meal concept. So I had a bad meal this week. My weight jumped up 3 or 4 pounds. What does the rest of your week look like? Was it super low sodium? Was it super low carb? So if you had a bad meal that was high carb, high salt, your weight's going to skyrocket.
Yep.
Those muscles were empty. They were dehydrated. There was no glycogen in them. And then you put all that stuff in. Now your muscle mass looks like it jumps up. Scale weight, of course, goes up. So if you just look at that scale weight number, all you're seeing is
Yep.
when in
Well,
reality.
and then when your muscle mass goes up, so does your water weight to hold that muscle mass. Because what is it, 3 molecules per 1 molecule of glycogen?
Yep, 3 to 1.
So it's one of those like, yeah, people are like, I had my cheat meal yesterday. Muscle mass goes up. Here was a good example this morning. I had my client at 9 o'clock. Obviously, they follow my pre-workout nutrition rules. Had a shake an hour before, right? Day before measured, right? Yesterday measured.
Yeah.
Was pissed, right? Everything you just described. Lean mass dropped. Body fat went up a very little bit, but it essentially, and then obviously she lost like a pound overall. That's the way it fluctuated. Today, she was telling me she was frustrated from the scale yesterday. I'm like, well, let's go ahead and measure. I'm like, are you fasted? She's like, no, I've had my shake. It's been okay. How long? An hour. I'm like, okay, it's good enough. Let's check it out. I was just really interested to see her muscle mass, to see what happened over these last 3 measurements, right? And we get on there, and at the end of the 100% done, completed, she pushes me. And she's like, my body fat went down.
Yep.
And she's just like, this doesn't make sense, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, it makes perfect sense. You were dehydrated yesterday. Today, you're hydrated because you had a shake with spinach and strawberries and blueberries and all those vitamins and minerals, and you took your multivitamin last night and tonight. So all of a sudden, you have all these nutrients right now. Now, your goal is to keep this up the rest of the day, but all of a sudden, now that you're hydrated, your muscle went up, your body fat went down the way it's supposed to look, and she lost a pound.
Yeah.
And she's like, cool. And I'm like, yeah, that's the hydration aspect of everything. I don't think if people aren't drinking, again, back to it's such a huge problem.
Oh, yeah.
People are just not drinking like water. They'll just drink empty water.
Yeah.
Right?
So-
and then even then, not enough of that.
Yeah, and so I know we've talked about it before. What should people drink? What are they doing wrong that they think they're doing right?
So 3 people today, or not today, 3 people this week told me they were all drinking over 150 ounces of water. And one of them was this exact example that I just used. She told me the same thing. She's like, I'm drinking a gallon of water a day. And I was like, whoa. I was like, you're probably going to the restroom a lot, huh? And she's like, yes, I can't stop. And I'm like, okay. So I told her, I was like, we should probably shoot for half your body weight, and that'd be a healthy number, just to shoot for, but that'd be easy for you because you're doing a gallon a day, so if anything, you're going to feel like you're not getting enough water, but the difference is of the salts, right, the pink salts. I told her to get the crystals, the granulated, not the fine. If anything, she can grind it up herself if she wants to, but right before. And I told her to just start putting it in her workout water, is what I call it. So her alpha, her bottle, or her shaker, or whatever it is, during her, it's about that size too, during her team cut, right? So that's the only time she'll be putting salt. And this is somebody who was also not putting any salt in her food because table salt is bad, right? It makes you retain water. Told her about pink salt, and she's made those switches as well. But that's something that people should do too, is not only just put pink salt in their water, but if you're not cooking with pink salt, definitely cook with pink salt because you still get the trace minerals and the electrolytes there. As far as like in relation, I think that first, I think if you can have a glass, a healthy water amount, like 6 to 8 ounces, first thing in the morning and even first thing at night, or first thing at night, last thing before bed. I think that's a good rule of thumb to follow, and that essentially gets you a few ounces. What does that put us at? 16 ounces. And it just gets you off on the right foot, right, and then gets you to bed right on the ending on the right foot. So, what would you think?
I would say dead even. The only thing I would add to it is add up your vegetables.
Oh, dude, yeah, I forgot about that.
Because it makes sense.
Obviously, yeah.
Because we talk about salting food, and it's kind of I hate to say it's a given, but yeah, you should always be upping your vegetables. But if you're salting your food, salt your vegetables as well. It's going to cause all the micronutrients that are already in there to get into your system a little bit better, and it'll have
the
more
transportation of these trace minerals and everything. That's true.
Yeah, and then
what did you? What's our amount to shoot for? 10 to 14? 12
10 to 14 servings of vegetables per day would be the ideal. Now, the cool thing with the salt is they tell you 2,000 milligrams where you're supposed to go to. The biggest problem with this is it's based off a sick population. So when they look at that, it's like if you're coming to the hospital and you have high blood pressure, hypertension, all those other things, they put you towards the DASH diet, which is basically to solve hypertensive issues. So they cut your red meats down, they cut your processed foods down, they cut your sodium intake down to drive down hypertension. The problem is everyone thinks that that's what you're supposed to do medically, but it's not. But if you're a normal, healthy individual, and you're having a ridiculous high amount of salt, you're fine because you'll sweat it out. I was actually reading something that said you can get up to 8 to 10 grams of salt a day. So it'd be 8,000 to 10,000 milligrams,
which is 5 times the amount that they say we should have. And I believe in that so much, especially if you're a healthy individual who's exercising. Like, not only are you dealing with just already hydration and environmental issues and stuff, but now you're adding more to that because you're literally sweating. You're literally you're using that as energy, as to help your body do what it needs to do. I just keep putting more salts, and I'm feeling great. Every single day, I'm feeling better and better.
Would you say your chip eating has gone down since you started adding more salt?
Dude, yes, 100,000%, and I knew that would. Right? And this happened. I've done the salt thing as a big, I think for a month, 2 months now, but for the last 2-3 weeks, even more so. Like everything, it's a habit now. Like I can honestly say, every single time I eat, get the extra salt. Get the extra salt, put some in my water, here. And yeah, absolutely, I'm buying less bags of chips, and then even when I do eat chips, it's a serving. It's not this mindless, oh gosh.
And I wonder, because I know you said that you and Zara do it, and I hadn't thought about it, and I know we've been doing more salting stuff, and Ava's like me. She sweats if she looks at like anything. Thinking about it. But she'll do like exactly that. She'll have like a serving of chips.
Yeah.
And then she'll be done with it.
Yes.
But we put salt on the food and everything else for her. So I'm wondering if that's why, because you think about a lot of kids, they're not controlled with what they do. They just keep doing it. And maybe that's why. Because if you're following a healthy diet and you're not putting salt on your food, and now these kids are eating chips or they're eating something that's salty.
They're finally getting it. Their
So-
body's saying,
Yeah, keep going. And
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
all adults go through that same thing. Like when they're in starvation mode, like, oh, I'm gonna have one cookie, and next thing you know, you're like, I can't stop eating these.
Because that cookie has salt and calcium and iron and stuff that your body's like, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense because I didn't even think to ask. I mean, all the times we talked about it, I never thought to ask, has it gone down? I know you said you were buying less chips and things because we talked about the Google thing last time.
Yep.
And we were talking about like you're buying less now and everything else. But I was wondering if that was why, and I never thought about it until right now.
That's exactly it, for sure. Because I've even asked people, I'm like, and I even kind of preface it. It's like, I'll say, as you do this, you're going to notice you won't crave the chips at night. You won't crave that salty popcorn. That people, like I have a client who used to, former client I used to have, who probably still does, but he loves to have popcorn at night.
No.
And I'd had trouble telling him to put salt in his food and his water, but he's still very kind of not old school, but just believing in that sodium is the issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, that pink salt has all the electrolytes and minerals. What are you seeing there?
Well, I was wondering because I know one of those things has I guess not on that one. We're talking about like salt cravings and things like that.
Oh yeah,
It's
I
not
don't
on
think
that
it's
one.
on this one.
But in correlation to stress, you burn off more salt. We talked about that before.
Yeah.
The more salt that you have in your system, the more stress you have, the more salt you burn through, and then the food cravings and everything else.
Yes.
But if you're craving salt and your snacks are what you're looking for that are salty,
what more do you need to tell you drink or eat more salt?
eat the salt. Because it would be better. So anyone out there who's watching this and is like, "Oh my God, salt's bad for you." If you start thinking about your patterns and you start noticing, "Oh, I am having a trail mix. It's me. I have a bunch of trail. It's salty as hell." And I don't care about the sweet part of it. I care about the fact that it's salty.
Yeah.
And then, or you're having the chips,
That makes
or you're
sense.
having the popcorn. Any of those things that are having extra salt, just put salt on real food.
It could be a granola bar.
Yeah.
That's something that isn't salty when we think about it, but has high salt concentration, like sodium. That is, you're like, this is so good, and it could be the sodium.
Yeah.
It could be the vitamins that they afford. I love that you brought this up in class the other day. From a marketing perspective, they add extra vitamin to this cereal, to this one in the company, so they hit all the populations of the people who crave the Lucky Charms, who crave the Honey Nut Cheerios, because they fortify it with specific nutrients to say your body says, oh, I need this.
Well, and that's funny you mention that. Like Lucky Charms, if you look at Lucky Charms and you look at Cheerios, now take away the boxing, take away, like, look at the actual, like, nugget of cereal. Lucky Charms has the marshmallows and everything else in it. Cheerios doesn't. The cereal itself is exactly the same. But if you flip it and look at the nutrition facts, they're different. So Kellogg's, I think Kellogg's makes both, is that right? Or General Mills or whichever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So the same company's making the same thing. Like, look at Coke. Coke makes Coke, they make Dr. Pepper, they make all those things. So the company doesn't lose money by making 80 different types of cereal. But they have different nutrient profiles for that exact reason. We hit the spectrum, and the bulk of it is all the same. It's just different shapes. Alphabets, Lucky Charms, Cheerios, exactly the same.
Marshmallows,
different shapes. Yeah,
something.
add marshmallows, take away marshmallows, change the shape of it.
Colors.
Yeah.
Colors, that's a
Fruity
big one.
Pebbles and Cocoa Puffs.
Yep.
Or not
What's
Cocoa
the
Puffs.
right
Fruity Pebbles and
Fruit Loops.
Fruit Loops. There we go.
Yeah.
God, you spend way too much time in the cereal aisle. But that's exactly it. So you're looking at this one variable that we're just putting a different color box on. So when you look at marketing, the color of the box draws in kids. The healthy promise on like Cheerios
Justifies
or
it
whatever.
for the parents to buy it for the kids.
Yep. Because most of those foods have the little heart and the check, the American Heart Association
Absolutely.
check on there.
Yeah.
Because it meets the criteria of having at least like 3 grams of fiber. No, I think it's 2 grams of fiber and like low fat. So that's all you need.
Which
is technically heart healthy.
Well, we know when you take the fat away, you give the blood sugar response to just run rampant, right? Man, crazy. But something I've always noticed, I don't I don't watch TV as much anymore, so I don't see. And when we do watch it, there's no commercials. We don't have cable, so I don't see any commercials. Do you have cable? Okay, so we wouldn't be able to answer this. Maybe you guys can help us out. But I used to notice that they would say cereal is part of a complete breakfast. I don't know if they still say that. I'm assuming they might, but it's because it's part of it. It's not the only thing you need, right? Like you still want your eggs to get the protein, and you might even want some like avocados with your eggs to get the fat, or bacon even with the fat.
And that's an awesome point. But with the part that they used to advertise, and again, I don't know if they still do, it was the cereal, the orange juice, the toast on the side. Yeah. So you had like...
That's true. It gives the impression of that's the completeness. It's like, yeah, you're right. I noticed that too. It's like, well, there's no protein still. So maybe they're just assuming we'll throw that in there, but we're not assuming that. We're like, oh, that's what we're missing.
Yep.
Oh,
so
dude, OJ, man.
I think I told you I started reading the RDA guidelines and what they actually are. So based on what's in there, they have the average adult male consuming 279 grams of carbs a day, and this isn't a fact. This isn't a fact that they put out there for you to consume. That's what they found the average to be.
Oh,
so a lot of times people look at the numbers that are in there and they're like, oh, well, it makes sense. That's what they found the average. The average female is consuming about 179 grams. Okay. Is what they found. So what they also found was the average fiber consumption is 12 grams. So when you think about it, then they even say in there, most people are getting their carbs from breakfast cereals and processed carbohydrates.
Yeah.
In the actual RDA. So it says
and the 12 grams of fiber they're getting is the 2 grams that it comes with the cereal.
And they even go so far as to say what the fiber is. It's completely dead fiber.
It's processed.
It's processed. So in the processing process, they hit it with bleach. They hit it with antibacterial, and the fiber is good for movement, but that's it.
Kind of like what we talked about, the magnesium stearate being in supplements, helping it with just movement. Oh man!
And I'm sure I haven't even checked cereals to see it because since we had that conversation,
they probably have magnesium stearate.
Yeah, just to get it moving.
That's true. Well, and then just from we know that they use it to help keep the machines lubricated as well, so they don't have to maintenance them as much. That all makes sense.
That's crazy.
But let's dive into orange juice. And not so much just orange juice, but the sugar and fruit juices.
Oh yeah.
The sugar and sodas, and then let's transition that into alcohol and how it affects dehydration.
Okay.
Because we know what they do to dehydration, right? So like the sugar in anything, but we're taking it, for instance, fruit juice. Sugar just depletes us of our vitamins and minerals. So not only is it bad for us in the sense of it makes us fatter, but it's also pushing all the good stuff out of our body. It's like, get out, and it's like the bad's taking over, the good's getting pushed out. They're getting that out. Yeah, whatever.
So, interesting little tidbit. So the RDA, like, if you actually read it, it has nothing to do, it has a lot to do with, like, nutrient guidelines, but it's actually really interesting because it'll also tell you that 90% of the sugars that we consume are high fructose corn syrup or artificial sugars.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, the 90% that we consume is fake sugar. Orange juice is no longer orange juice.
That's true.
It's orange flavored corn syrup.
Because during the processing, all the vitamins, because of the heating and everything, are taken away. They got to put the sugar back in, and then because of what you just said, it's processed sugar. It's not real sugar.
And I forget.
Which is why when you see organic orange juice or orange juice, when you look at the ingredients, it says high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah,
that's right.
And then
HFCS-45, HFCS-90, HFCS-70. There's all these. There's just 4 different ones. And those are just the HFCS ones. Those aren't the malt and the malt syrups and
and that's the whole thing, because they found a way to hide it in there. Because it's corn syrup, so the high fructose corn syrup is technically still natural. I mean, it comes from corn syrup. They had to process it up and basically make it into a fake sugar, but it still comes from a natural source. So that is a loophole in the organic and natural processing, because it's there, but it's not at the same time.
It's loopholes.
Oh yeah. So if you think about that, if you know that orange juice is mostly high fructose corn syrup, and soda is mostly high fructose corn syrup, most people, I shouldn't say you, maybe you would, I don't know, you wouldn't have your day with a Coke. You wouldn't start your day with a Coke.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have breakfast. You wouldn't have an egg sandwich with a Coke. You'd have an egg sandwich with a glass of orange juice, or you'd have, a bowl of cereal with a glass of orange juice. You wouldn't put a glass of soda in front of your 7-year-old and say, "Hey, have that."
Yeah.
I mean,
no,
shouldn't,
soda's
at least.
okay for you. No, that's
horrible. And then if you take it the next level up to the alcohol, it all processes through the same pathways.
Yeah.
So your body's breaking it down the same exact way.
Well, and alcohol is a preferred source of fuel. So when alcohol isn't present, we're burning fats, we're burning sugar, carbs, right, on our body. It's either muscular or fat, whatever. And however, if there's alcohol involved, all of a sudden the body says, pump the brakes, let's burn this alcohol until it's completely gone.
Yeah.
Right? And if we drink nightly or we binge drink, it can take up to what? I think the older we get, it can take up to 72 hours. Yeah, 3 days.
Yeah.
To get out of your system. Meaning, when you start eating, even if it's healthy again, or even if it's, God forbid, worse, right? Bad, unhealthy food, everything you're eating will be stored as fat, right? Essentially is what's going on.
Yeah. Well, that's one of those, it's alcohol dehydrogenase is the enzyme, and like all enzymes, as you get older, you produce less of them.
Oh,
that's why when you go from being, a 21-year-old in college
Hangovers
or
get
just
worse.
because you wake up and you can roll right through it.
Yeah.
But now you're 41, and unless you've kept the drinking up, because think about most people, the first time they got drunk, they maybe didn't have a really bad hangover.
Mm-hmm.
Their body was like, okay, cool, it sucks, I'm a little bit tired, whatever else. I don't think I got a hangover. I've had 2 really bad hangovers, and they're probably way too much alcohol. But it wasn't until I was in my late 20s. And
But then, and that's usually when people start saying, I can't go out like I used to, and they're like 27, 26.
Yeah.
I'm like that, but because I don't drink. So I go out, I have a glass of wine, and I start yawning, and I want to go to sleep. And, or if it's, that's why I only like to drink if it's like in a social setting.
Oh, shit, went too far. 30 minutes? We forgot to start a timer. We thought it was going to be short.
There's a 30 minutes we can.
You're saying, you don't drink, you start to get tired, you start to get...
Oh, yeah, myself. Yeah, but that's just because I'm not... Because like you said, unless... You brought it up. Unless you keep drinking that amount till you're 40, then your tolerance goes up, and then your body's like, oh, this is our normal.
Yeah. Oh, God.
We're just always dehydrated, yeah.
And I have... Right now I have one client, I think he may die if he stops drinking, with the amount that he drinks. But I was telling him, because one of my other clients' moms was hospitalized because of how much she drinks, and her body's producing so much of the alcohol dehydrogenase that she's not breaking down the alcohol anymore, but her body is capable of functioning, so it's a high-level alcoholic. And if her body doesn't produce it, then she starts having withdrawal symptoms. Within 24, she went 24 hours without drinking, and then had to be hospitalized because she was shaking and convulsing, and it sounded like she was having
So her body functions off alcohol now. What happens at that point?
At that point, it becomes an absolute dependency. So if
you let them keep drinking?
No, you have to wean them off. So you can't.
So it's a gradual, you're having 80 ounces of alcohol, you're going to have 75 this whole next week, then 70, then 65, then 60, then maybe 50, and then 40, and things like that.
Yeah, so I know there's a drug they can give them. So my grandmother had, she was a severe alcoholic, and she fell. I don't think she broke her hip, but she fell and she wasn't capable of taking care of herself. And my grandfather wasn't capable of it either. And they brought her to the hospital, and they tried to admit her, and they're like, we can't admit her. Her blood alcohol level was stupid high. I think it was a 0.3. So,
Is it 0.08?
0.08 is the legally drunk. And they're like, we haven't given her alcohol. We can't figure out where she's getting it from. And as far as they knew, she hadn't had a drink in 3 or 4 days before they tried to admit her. And they're like, oh yeah, your liver's just not working anymore.
So because of processing.
Yeah, so we kept the alcohol in there as a fuel source, constantly, because it couldn't go anywhere. Recycling it, yeah. And I'm sure there's a breakdown, because you can break down sugar into alcohol. I mean, think about it, that's what sugar alcohols are.
Oh, yeah.
So there's got to be a physiological way to do it. And I think that's...
well, that makes sense, and I'm sure we have a processing system for that too.
Yeah.
That's something we need to look into.
Yeah.
That's cool. We are going to be having our next class, next 2 weeks.
Yep.
is one covering sugar and alcohol.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun.
It's got crazy.
What was I gonna say? Oh, something to help with hangovers or to help you not feel like crap the next day. Because sometimes I hear people say, "Oh, I don't have a hangover, but I'm just really tired." Right? Essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
But what happens once people, when they're drinking alcohol throughout the night, they start going to the restroom more frequently, especially once they go the first time.
Yep.
Right? So you're just essentially dehydrating yourself. So what you want to do is now the game is recovery, right? Just rehydrate as quickly as possible. I know that I used to do milk thistle when I knew I was going to have like a heavy night of drinking. We would do like I think I would do an hour or two before I would have like 2 pills, maybe. So I think it's 50 milligrams each. And then 30 minutes before I would have another 2 pills, and then before bed after the night of drinking, if I remembered, would try to have, but mostly I would because I didn't want to feel like crap. Would have 2 more with a healthy glass of water. I stopped that, and I've just been doing the pink salt and just hydrating as quickly as possible with that. But even throughout the night, I'm drinking water. So if let's say I drink a glass of wine, I'm probably putting down a glass of water with that glass of wine. And sometimes throughout the same thing, like I'll have a glass, because when I drink the wine, it's like, ugh. I'm like, man, I'm so thirsty. So then I have to drink the water to give me that like quenching, that satisfaction. So I always tell people, like they say, what should I do if I go out to drink? I'm like, well, you should probably drink straight liquor, straight alcohol, straight vodka, no mixed drinks, and especially no cranberry juice or anything with soda. After that, I guess wine would be the next best option, or even wine and liquor is pretty much right up there. What would you think?
I would say the liquor
would be better. Still, okay.
So the big thing with liquor.
What do you think? Brown liquor or clear? Clear would be the best.
So
calorie free?
Not necessarily calorie free. Most companies don't put any dyes in clear liquor.
Oh.
So if it's a dyeing thing. Some don't necessarily use dyes. Some will use.
You mean red dye is not good for me?
Yeah. Like, dyeing your liquor is not good.
Yeah.
But a lot of companies will use it for coloring, and it's like they'll put like caramel coloring. They'll put certain things in there, and it's a coloring thing. But if you're trying to get it through your system, don't do things with coloring. Do them clear. And there's also that the flavor of it. Mm-hmm. So if you start cutting alcohol with something else, you're more likely to drink more of it because it tastes better. So if you have a vodka cranberry versus just straight vodka, and you're either one of two things will happen. Like if you buy more expensive vodka, it tastes better. Mm-hmm. So if you're drinking it straight, okay, you're going to be buying more expensive drinks. So either you're going to choose to save money and not drink as much,
or you're going to feel it faster.
Yeah, you're going to feel it faster. Either way, it's still better.
Yeah.
Whereas the other way around, if you do like a vodka and cranberry, you're going to get like maybe $6 for it, and you're like, oh, well, I can drink 10 of these. Well, you're getting an ounce of vodka, 5 ounces of cranberry juice, so you're getting an ounce of vodka and then 5 ounces of sugar.
And then just what sugar does and alcohol does when it's together.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, did you hear I don't know if it was a study or they figured out that Red Bull and vodka is the same thing as doing cocaine.
Yep. Yeah.
I used to do that all the time. I was like, whoa, that's what we would drink. And then I slowly went away from that, and I was doing just liquor, just Jameson, neat and stuff, right? But dude, after nights of partying, I would feel really tired and guilty and just like, God, this is terrible. When I read that, it scared me, man.
Yeah.
And that's what really pushed me away from alcohol. That was the last, like, I'm only gonna have it like just as like a drink, you know, not like before. It was like one of those things where it was like, all right, we have a party this weekend, we're gonna go out, we're gonna drink and stuff.
We do this.
Not after that, dude. That scared me.
Well, there was an article probably about actually before that, because it was right about when I graduated college. They were talking about people were having heart attacks from Red Bulls and vodkas. Because you can drink so many of them, and it's balancing out your buzz. You're capable of going longer.
Yes.
Because your body's metabolizing the alcohol.
Alcohol poisoning.
The caffeine in
there.
And you're
running
going.
off of it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what another thing too, the reason why we also drink more is not only does it taste better, and all that, but the sugar, like the kind of like, what did they describe it as? Oh, they use the Four Locos.
Mm-hmm.
You know what those are? Those are crazy drinks, right? I think they're like, they don't even exist anymore. Like they're barred or something. it's a super high percentage of alcohol, but a
Yeah.
super high percentage of caffeine and sugar or something.
Yeah.
So the caffeine makes you super crazy and hyper and just like, I'll do anything. And the alcohol makes you not care.
Yeah.
So people were doing very, very stupid things, and it just goes back to like when people drink alcohol, we do stupid things.
Yeah.
Like, you know, people cheat, people jump off things, people drive drunk. I mean, that's the big one, right? Texting, you know, like this.
Yeah.
Some are not so bad, some are very, very bad. But a lot of that is true. It's just the substances we're putting in our body and what we do, and we're running off of a different chemical.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy stuff. That is crazy stuff.
And that's, you lose control. You know, they talk about lowering your inhibitions, lowering this, but that's where all the bad choices happen too. Because the drinking itself isn't, I'm not going to say isn't that bad, but it's after you get to a certain point, it's like, oh, well, screw it. And then that leads to the bad eating too, because now you're going to Whataburger at
And you don't
3
care.
o'clock at night. You don't care.
Yeah.
You know, and then you wake up, and you feel guilty about it, so now you're stressed about it.
Mhm.
So you jacked up your system from drinking, made some crappy food choices, and now the next day you feel you're hungover, you feel guilty, and you don't do anything.
You're
So
beating yourself
just-
up.
Yeah.
And what do? You go kick your butt in the gym.
Yep. And then you work harder on a dehydrated body,
And that's the thing. I'm not necessarily against kicking your own butt in the gym,
Mhm.
but you gotta be hydrated and fueled properly
Yeah.
to kick your own butt in the gym. Because then it's just more stress,
Mhm.
and you're dehydrated even more. And
Well, that's how you end up with an issue. Like we had a someone who got injured because they went out and they were out partying all night, and then blew out the knee because they were dehydrated. The tissue was brittle from like tons of drinking, tons of sweating, tons of other stuff, and then they went in to get a hard workout. Started sweating and just felt tight, and then knee's gone. So
that's nuts.
yeah, and that's and
But
you
it
know,
makes sense.
gotta have surgery.
Makes sense.
So your tissue is meant to be hydrated. Like if you look at all the things that we've done throughout history, like vision quests, they don't involve alcohol. They involve peyote or what is it? Not ashwagandha. Ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca. Even some psilocybin with the mushrooms sometimes.
Yep. So there's no dehydrating effect to that. I mean, maybe with the psilocybin you may sweat a little bit more.
That's
but
true.
It is nothing as big as the urine output or the sweat that you get when you drink alcohol. And you'll see this like in the old school cartoons. They would have that Saint Bernard with the little alcohol cask on his throat, and they would like that would be how they would rescue dogs. So you would drink alcohol and it raises your core temperature. Like any of the videos that you see or movies that you see with people that live in like these ice areas, like super cold areas, they drink a lot because it drives up your core temperature.
Yeah,
your body's burning a lot more alcohol. It's a faster form of fuel.
That's true. I was cold the other night. We were eating outside. I'm like, give me a drink.
Yeah.
Give me some liquor.
You heat up super fast.
That's
I remember. So I went to school in New York, and I remember being at parties when it was like 30 below. And these parties weren't like, you're not in somebody's house, like they're house parties. There's only enough room in there for maybe like 20 people.
Oh, you gotta hang out outside.
Yeah, and the kegs outside, everyone else is outside. So now you get out there and you're like, oh
it's
god,
even
I'm cold.
colder than. Oh gosh,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Take a couple drinks, you have like
Don't even
4 or
think
5
about
beers,
it.
you're like, yeah, I feel great. You're walking home from the bar, and it's like a 2-mile walk, and you're wearing a t-shirt. And I mean, think about it. The way girls go out, they're going out in like dresses and skirts and everything else in 30-degree weather, and they're walking home barefoot after a night of
Even in
drinking.
New York.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Dude, I used to work on this. We called it the drunk bus, and I would go out bundled up because I'd be sober at that point, and I'd be super bundled up. And by the end of the night, when people were getting on the bus, they were like, there were girls that would get on the bus in just their bras. There were guys that would get on shirtless. It was just like, you don't think about it. And then the next time you go out drinking, you're like, oh yeah, I'm like super hot. And you're sweating walking home in this
That's
Arctic
crazy. But
weather.
it does do that. And then what does that do to your sleep?
Jacks it all up.
High core temperature. You'll fall asleep because you're so drunk.
Yeah.
But you won't get quality sleep because your core temperature's up. Then we know just what sugar and alcohol do while you're sleeping and your cycles. And yeah, it's just it's bad. And that all stems kind of from dehydration going into it because that is a cause of dehydration.
And that's so, and we know that one bad night's sleep will throw off your blood sugar massively, and it can potentially throw you off for about 2 or 3 days.
That's true.
So if you have one bad night's sleep and you're hungover and now your cortisol levels are up. You're dehydrated.
gosh.
Like you think about the cascade of things from one night of drinking, and it's like
You're affected for a few days.
Yeah.
3 days, almost.
you can throw off your
Seems
entire
like-
system, and that's why people like. I had one of my alpha ladies was here yesterday. Yesterday was Thursday, and I was looking at her heart rate up on the screens now, and which she absolutely loved. And she's like, "Why do I feel like I'm dying? My heart rate's not going anywhere." And I was like, "Well, what did you do?" She's like, "Well, I had a really bad night's sleep." And it's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
well, I had like 2 or 3 glasses of wine, and it's been a really rough week." And I know how her training's been all week. I've been beating their asses all week. And she's like, I'm like, I can't figure out what's going on. I'm like, well, you just listed it out.
Yeah.
The training's been rough all week.
Yep.
But instead of recovering last night into today, you had a couple glasses of wine, which is fine. I'm not saying not to drink, but if you're going to drink late at night and then come in for a hard workout the next morning, you're not going to be
Your
happy.
morning drink needs to be some waters.
Yeah, and she was like
But
dying.
it's so cool because we know that just losing 0.5% of your body weight in water leads to higher blood pressure, right?
Yeah.
So and then if you're severely dehydrated, it's going to lead to aerobic endurance being kind of losing, muscular endurance, all of that stuff starts to take a hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's cool to note that we got the heart rates now. You can just kind of check it out. I love my clients who have heart rate sensors. I'm constantly, all right, what's your heart rate? Cool.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get started when you hit 130. We'll hit our next set. I'm constantly using that for my training. And then also just being able to see that the last time, I'll even write it down sometimes, the last time we did kettlebell swings with squats and glute bridges right after, your heart rate got up to this high.
Yep.
This time it was 20 beats lower. What's going on? Right? And sure enough,
Yep.
it always ends up being stressful week, bad night of sleep, dehydration, blah 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 blah. And it's such a reoccurring thing, man. Probably, I'm starting to think that's probably the biggest issue.
Yeah.
Right up there with undereating is up there, malnourishment.
Yeah.
But that's the same thing, malnourishment and dehydration. Because they're undereating, but they're eating a lot of the crap foods. They're not really getting the nutrients and minerals their body's craving for.
Yeah.
So they're still malnourished even though they're eating tons of processed food.
Which drives stress levels up. Because it's always the rebound effect. You had a crappy night. You had a crappy night's sleep. You made bad food choices. Maybe you were drinking. So now you pay for it today with the hard workout. And then you don't eat enough. You eat salads all day. And when I say salads, you're not eating a salad, which I had a really cool conversation with somebody today about food volume. But you're not eating a salad. You're eating this like salad.
Yeah.
This
Because you're like, oh, I have to be good. I have
Yeah.
to lower my calories. Yeah.
And I was talking to a guy. He's like, I saw some of the pictures you're posting, and he's like, I don't want to eat like that because he's like, I think I need more food. I was like, dude, you don't realize the size of that bowl that I'm actually posting. Like I posted a couple times, like this purple bowl.
Yeah.
There's no reference point because it's a table and a bowl.
Yeah.
So you can't figure out how big it is.
It's
You don't know
just
how big
a
my
bowl.
table is. I'm like, the bowl's like this big. So when I have a salad, I'm having a salad. Like I usually have I'll have an entire bag of lettuce if I'm doing it, or I'll have a half one of those
Dude.
spinach things.
Salada. When I go to Salada, I get the biggest one. It's mounted.
Yeah.
And as you're eating it, I'm like, man, I don't know if I'll eat this. But you just,
Keep going.
and now before I know it, I'm like, oh, 4 bites left.
Yeah.
Yesterday we made taco salad. So we made ground beef, some pinto beans, and I put, we got power greens, spinach, bell peppers, tomatoes, avocado, some cheese, and then I threw some like chips on there. Like again though, only a little serving, which is
Yeah.
cool. Where before, if I used to have taco salads, it'd be like chips. It's so crazy. I would put the chips first,
Yeah.
then put everything on top. This time I put the chips at the very end, naturally. Just that's just what happened. Dude, my plate is this big and it was massive. Heather walked out of the kitchen into the table and she's like, "What the?" It was huge.
Yeah.
And just put it away, got seconds, and had it for lunch again today. Like,
Yeah.
and it's a lot. But then there's even the amount of, like, your body won't absorb the full amount of that because it requires energy to break all that down. So it's going to lose out a few percentages, right? You won't absorb the 100% of calories, right? Which is, yeah.
But the bigger part of that is, it doesn't necessarily apply to you in this case, but if you did that as somebody who's hungover, you just loaded your body back up with vitamins. You loaded
Yeah.
your body back up with water,
Yes.
which is better than the Gatorade that most people drink as the hangover cure. It has the electrolytes in it and everything else. And then it was a solid amount of food, so even you know, if you're hungry, you're not hungry anymore because you ate a thing of food.
Super healthy amount. Even the avocado, half an avocado. So there's just the benefits of that. And then salt that I put on my food. Not only did I cook with the food or cook salt in the food, but I added extra even when I served it. Added extra to the salad portion. Added extra to everything. The avocado, I added some on top. It was. So yeah, the salt guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's a big one. That is such a big one for people. Dehydration, and all the different ways that they get dehydrated. So kind of like a takeaway was sugar and alcohol. Those are the biggest ones.
Yeah.
And then stress, any type of stress, whether it's workout stress and work stress and financial stress and like marital stress and anything that stresses you out will cause your body to use more nutrients. Nice. Anything else?
I would say
that was the biggest.
Yeah.
In summary, dehydration is
eat your veggies.
Veggies.
I mean, if you're hungover, eat veggies.
Eat your veggies. Take your multivitamin and salt. Pink salt. If you're not cooking with pink salt, switch to pink salt. If you haven't tried putting pink salt in your water around your workouts, definitely try it. It's just 2 pinches in your water, about the size of Anthony's. And Anthony's, is your cup? It's only a half a cup, right?
Yeah, it's only half. And down here, I have my shake.
Okay, cool. So it's just like a few ounces. So like for something that size, probably 2 pinches still, right? That's still like 24 ounces.
Yeah,
20 ounces.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. And you shouldn't taste the salt overwhelmingly. You might taste a hint of salt, and that's what you want. You don't want a salty water. That's nasty. We're not trying to make your water gross. But also that just means you drink less water in the sense of or not less water. You won't have to drink as much water as you think you do. You're just being more efficient with everything.
Yeah. If you're eating salt and it tastes like the most amazing thing on the planet, I need more. Because a lot of times, how often you do that, you get something like the chips. Oh, these are so great. Are they that great, or is that salty?
Yes.
Because I mean, chips are really
there's nothing.
There's nothing to them.
It's nothing. It's the salt.
Yeah.
It's the salt and the crunch.
Yeah.
And the crunch is just the crunch associated with the salt. Mm-hmm. So that's the habit.
Yeah,
that's
you
the
want
thing.
I want that crunchy. No, you don't. You want the salty. Because if you wanted the crunchy, you could get a
crunch,
carrot, you can get a cucumber, you can get anything. Celery.
Yeah,
it's
exactly. It's really the salt. It's such a big thing, and that's the best way. If it tastes good when you're eating it, it's because you need it, and you'll get to a point where it's like, oh man, that's too much.
Yeah.
And that's your point right there. I just don't know if people actually hit it.
Well,
they might hit it.
I would assume they would. I mean, even if you're having like Doritos, there's going to come a point where you're like, I've just had enough of those.
Oh, you're right. No. And I've had that point. I was just talking about from a healthy perspective. Pink salt. Like if we can have up to if you guys are exercising like some of you guys are 5 days a week, you're probably one that could have upwards of salts. If you're exercising twice a week, then you might not want to have.
But that comes down to also individualized things. Because some people, based on region, have the ability to waste salt better.
That's true. I read that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
You may
hold on to salt better and everything. Yeah, that's very true.
So if you notice that, like, after you get done sweating, your clothes have that, like, sweat ring on them, like that white ring, that very well could mean that you're great at emptying out sweat. Could also mean you have a super high salt diet.
Yeah.
But it may be one of those things where you're definitely going to need extra salt based on that.
Yeah.
Dude, that guy... Oh, sorry.
Dude, what are you doing?
Are y'all filming?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Hey, bud.
Oh, Dustin.
Yeah, seriously.
He's dehydrated.
He is dehydrated. Shit.
I think that's it.
What is it? Yeah, because the salt. You get the upper limit of salt. It's really hard to get to.
Yeah.
But if you are noticing you're sweating a lot,
that's right.
The sweat rings. You probably need a lot more. If you feel like your sweat is burning, you probably finally reached the point where you had too much.
Okay. That's cool. I didn't know about the burning thing.
Yeah, it's very rare because you have to get, like, if you ever go to Chamagouchi or something like that and you sweat the next day, it's like just nails coming out of your skin.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's true. That's cool. Nice. The in body.
Yeah.
If your lean muscle drops significantly, it's probably a great sign of you're dehydrated. And if it's showing on the in-body that your muscles drop, you're probably really dehydrated at that point. Veggies, vitamins, pink salt, anything else? That's basically it from a rehydration standpoint. Yeah. Guys, thank you so much. This is Isaac.
This is Anthony. Thank you guys for watching. Like, share, subscribe. It's been a pleasure.
Join us next time. Bye.
Thanks for checking us out. If you like this, go ahead, like it, share it, subscribe. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram.